Did you see this one? So I'm just like looking at this whole thing with this Judge Boasberg. You know Judge Boasberg. He's the one that wanted to stop all the deportations mid-flight, which didn't happen. And now it's this go-around. Well, you know, they must not have a lot of judges because somehow this is the exact same judge that's going to actually deal with this Signal text case, you know, that's all been discovered. By the way, there's another wrinkle that we've just learned in this. The woman who is chairman of the board for Signal, that would be one Catherine Moore, who was quizzed brilliantly so by one Brandon Gill, the junior congressman out of Texas. I'm going to get to that in a moment. She did a horrible job, and he was tremendous. But it turns out this NPR lady who used to run Wikipedia is actually the head of Signal as well. So 6 degrees of separation getting just a little bit weird, don't you think? Hey, Grey Ghost, thank you so much. I love that. I so appreciate your generosity and your compliment. Thank you very, very much. So this is Judge Boasberg. And he's now been handled the Signal case because, of course, you know, somebody's suing because they think it's preventing the unlawful destruction of federal records and to compel defendants to fulfill their legal obligations to preserve and record federal records that were all created on Signal. And the judge overseeing that, it's Judge Boasberg, who's the same one who wanted to stop the deportations. He also, interestingly enough, is the same exact judge who refused to allow Hillary Clinton's nearly 15,000 emails to come out until after Election Day. He specifically wanted, back in 2016, those emails. He created a whole new timetable so as perhaps to help her. He wanted to prevent any kind of election interference. I mean, if you ask me, that is a kind of election interference of sorts. I mean, shouldn't the public have known? But he hid those for obvious reasons, I guess. I mean, I don't know what his political affiliation is per se, but I can tell you this. His daughter works for an NGO that's out there defending the MS-13 criminal members. Wow. I mean, you can't make it up. And then you think about this one, little Chucky boy saying that he's so proud. This one over the weekend of the 235 liberal lefty judges that they put in place so as to combat Donald Trump, making me think, what is this? They're like stacking the courts. This is good old Venezuela style, by the way. They stack the courts so as to just create all these obstacles for Donald Trump, who, by the way, is not having it. He's doing what he's doing anyway, citing 1952 legislation, citing 1798 legislation, and citing, well, just the reality that there's a security violation if the judge is brought into it. Here's Chuck Schumer bragging about the 235 judges they put in.
There are those who believe that we are in real time living through an assault on the constitutional order. Do you believe that we are in a constitutional crisis right now?
Yes, our democracy is at risk because Donald Trump shows that he wishes to violate the laws in many, many different ways. The good news here is we did put 235 judges, progressive judges, judges not under the control of Trump last year on the bench, and they are ruling against Trump time after time after time. And we hope that the appellate courts, when it gets up there, and the Supreme Court will uphold those rulings. They restored the money to NIH. They required that 8,000 federal employees have to come back. We're in over 100 lawsuits against them, and we are having a good deal of success. It's only at the lower court level right now.
Oh my gosh. So what are they really trying to do? Andrew Fay, thank you for your generosity, making the point that back during the Cold War, fancy Ivy League schools were teaching Marxism so that you could actually try and get inside the heads of the Soviets. And when that dried up, those jobless professors kept it alive to stay relevant. I would say, you know what? It's even more than that. There's actually a belief out there. They love communism and Marxism. I mean, that's what Bernie Sanders is all about, AOC too, right? I mean, somehow Bernie Sanders still has millions of dollars and a couple of houses. All those books, apparently he's not so Marxist when it comes to the books. It always ends up this way, by the way. Every single communist society, you look at what happens, you get a few little people on the top that are controlling the government, and then the masses of people all stuck, barely getting by, hoping for their next loaf of bread. That's what happens in a communist society. It does not end well. We've tried it all over the world. Why on earth they want to try it here? I don't know, except that they want power. These people are so hungry for power. And look at what they did, and look at what they've done, and look at the academic institutions institutions that are breeding grounds for this nonsense. And then you got 235 judges that they put in that are going to continue this breeding ground for such nonsense. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're the judge that's getting in the way of turning away criminals, we got people who are here illegally that are known to be MS-13 gang members, and you don't want to send them back to El Salvador, I don't know how you justify that position. I really don't. I think that you do have the law on your side in that particular case. 1, they were here illegally. 2, they're doing the country harm. 3, they're criminals. Boom. Get them out. Here's Patricia Millett, however. She's taken the appellate course on the deportations from Boasberg, and she's clearly got an agenda. This thing is going to have to go all the way to the Supreme Court. I don't know how it's going to shake out, in part because he sent them back to El Salvador instead of Guantanamo, and they've been convicted of all these crimes. I would just say they're here illegally. Can you not at least send them home to their own home country? Oh, not according to Patricia. Listen to her.
Am I wrong about anything I just said factually?
Your Honor, I think it's incorrect that they couldn't have gone into court as the 5 individual plaintiffs.
No, but the point here was that there were plane loads of people. I mean, it's a class action. There were plane loads of people. There were no procedures in place to notify people. Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemy Act than has happened here, where the proclamation required the promulgation of regulations, and they had hearing boards before people were removed. And yet here there's nothing in there about hearing boards. There's no regulations, and nothing was adopted by the agency officials that were administering this. People weren't given notice. They weren't told where they were going. And they were given, those people on those planes on that Saturday had no opportunity to file habeas or any type of action to challenge the removal under the AEA. And like you've agreed that 2 of those airplanes, people were removed under the AEA. What's factually wrong about what I said?
Well, Your Honor, we certainly dispute the Nazi analogy, but more importantly, the fact is that individual plaintiffs were able to file habeas in time in order to secure relief.
Wait, what individual plaintiffs were?
The 5 individual plaintiffs
That's not my question. My question
Yeah, okay. She doesn't like hearing that. So he's saying they were actually able to file. And yet we kind of dispute the Nazi comparison. Why do they always go back to that, right? Why? I mean, unbelievable. I'm just saying, like, there's some suspicion here that they have stacked the courts. I mean, look at Letitia James, right? In New York, her entire reason for being is to take on Trump and fight Trump. And maybe she thinks that's going to land her the presidency of the United States. Here's where it gets really ugly for these folks. These are criminals. We need them out of the country. We want good people in the country, not bad people in the country. If you are a criminal or gang member and trying to do United States citizens harm, or if you're here on a student visa and you're trying to organize protests so as to shut down a campus, I don't think it's that hard. That's what you call common sense. And for some reason, they don't have any of that in these academic institutions, in these liberal government deep state institutions. And so how do you curb it? Well, Mike Lee has an idea. This is a senator from Utah. He was on my former colleague Laura Ingram's show last night, and he came up with an interesting idea. And by the way, this has been talked about by other folks. Justice Kagan, I believe, who's not exactly on the right, has brought this up before, because you can't have these just wild cards of district judges getting in the way of everything so that everything has to go up to the Supreme Court. Listen to Mike Lee about how we need some legislation to protect against rogue judges.
That it takes to go through a normal process.
Yeah, it basically nullifies the will of the people and the president's authority. Joining me now, Utah Senator Mike Lee, also former Supreme Court clerk of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Elena Kagan, she's a principled liberal. She's obviously right. This is a disaster.
Absolutely right. She's the one who said we're all textualists now. She's a textualist, and she was right when she said that.
So what do we do now in the Senate? There are a couple of different ideas. Explain them clearly to the people watching tonight, because they think, well, you can't stop a court. A court wants to rule. All right. Why isn't that okay?
One of the best things we could do is pass legislation that I introduced day before yesterday that would limit the jurisdiction of the courts, making it so that a single district judge can't issue an injunction against the U.S. government with nationwide applicability on a major matter of presidential policy. It needs to be going through a 3-judge district court with an automatic direct appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States. It would make it very difficult to judge shop, and it would make it so we get a final resolution from the Supreme Court.
Would this be a rotating panel
Yes.
of district court judges?
I love it, right? because the judge shopping is a problem. These rogue judges are a problem. We got to actually reform this system. And Kagan has talked about it before. So let's come up with some solutions here. I got to get to this unbelievable story. I cannot believe this about this woman from NPR. But first, a shout out for my friends at Balance of Nature. You know, I take this stuff every day. My fruits and veggies. I almost said fruits and gummies. They taste good. Don't take too many. You know, vitamin D levels can actually get too high. I had a situation with that once. One of my kids, she's got such a sweet tooth, and she found the gummies, and she was trying to take a few too many. And I'm like, no, you can't. Like vitamin C, you can flush out, but vitamin D, that will actually build up. I need all the vitamin D, however I can get. Like I should just be like eating bottles of this stuff, but I do take it every day. So fruits and veggies from Balance of Nature, I encourage you to take a look at them. They've got a great product. They've been around for a lot of years, and there's thousands of testimonials, not just mine, but they really do a lot to just boost your system. Listen, you got to get all of the nutrients you can get, and I try and get them specifically from food, but I'll be honest, I don't eat my broccoli every night the way I should. My Brussels sprouts, one of my girls put maple syrup, the one with the sweet tooth, in the Brussels sprouts last night. And I was like, I can't eat these. I just can't. You know, I need my Brussels sprouts to taste like Brussels sprouts. So good thing I had my fruits and veggies. Go check them out at Balance of Nature. You can get 35% off with my discount code. Use the discount code Trish. You get free shipping, money back guarantee, all of that good stuff. I'm leaving everything in the show notes so you can see it there.